Hey everybody, welcome back to JD Outdoors. Thanks for watching my channel. I hope you guys enjoy the content. Um, you know, definitely would appreciate it if you like and subscribe to my page. Got some exciting live scope video coming up for you. I've actually made a couple of trips to Lake Erling this first part of March, and this particular video is going to be the earlier video, the very first of March. Before, I guess I'd say it's pre-spawn. Water temperature is running, 56 to 58 degrees, and still catching crappie out. Live scoping is hard to move up and catch them up in the shallows, so typically just try to go after the staging fish. But anyway, you'll hopefully see some of that action in the video. Before I get started, I'd like to talk about a couple of things. I had some questions after my Millwood video dropped. Some people messaged me, and there were some questions surrounding the reels that I use. What kind of reels are those? And these are just Eagle Claw ice fishing reels. It's like a carbon composite reel. It's not a very expensive reel, and it does a great job live scoping on these long poles. It's easy to pull the line off. It's easy, as far as to use. They're a little better than just a 1-to-1 ratio. These actually are like a 1 to 2.5 or 3. I can't remember exactly, but they do give you the ability, if you need to reel up, if you're pitching out and have extra line out and need to reel up to get your fish in, it's not a problem. It's very easy to use. I like them. Matter of fact, that's what I have on all my rods that I take fishing with me right now. I've tried a couple of different brands of these ice fishing reels, and these actually have a release button in the handle. It's right there. Just push that nut, and it actually releases the spool, and it's out of the way. Versus some of the ice fishing reels that have a big plastic trigger on them. I've had a couple of those break off on me, so these right here by far are the best ones I've used yet. And you can get these reels at Sportsman's One Stop in El Dorado, Arkansas. Mike and Devin up there, they carry these reels. And I think it'd be if you're looking for a reel, you hadn't found something that works perfectly, you got to give them a try. The other thing I want to talk about, Sportsman's One Stop also recently started carrying jig tying supplies, which I started tying jigs last year, dabbling with it, and it's a satisfying feeling to catch crappie on a bait that you made with your own hands. So it's not for everybody, but I really enjoy it, and I was excited to hear that they have this material there that I can go down and pick up locally. I don't have to pay freight. I don't have to wait on it for a week to come in. If I need something, I can go get it. So I guess in recognition of those guys doing this, it's everyone's benefit to buy local and keep business here in town so they can have the things that we need when we need them. So in recognition of them doing that, I just kind of felt moved to give back to my viewers and maybe help those guys out a little bit too. I'm going to give away a 2-pack of jigs, and this is actually the jigs that I've used in these last 2 videos, the one that you're going to see here, and then I've got another video that'll drop probably in a week or so. But anyway, a shad color jig and a black and chartreuse. So I'm going to give these a pack of that right there to the first 5 people that go to Sportsman's One Stop and tell them that they saw the giveaway on JD Outdoors, and wish you'd go in there and check out their supplies and see what you think about them. Good guys there. Without further ado, let's get to watching some crappie catching. So it looks like these fish are kind of suspended. I started throwing at this one a little bit lower, smaller fish, and then I noticed another one appeared higher in the water column, it looked a little better. So I moved over and just kind of drifted towards him, and he was ready to eat. Always look for the bumps on the logs. You never know when they might turn into a crappie. If you'll notice, I'm pitching out past the fish. I see one on the side of a tree here, and a lot of days they don't want that bait swinging over their head, but today they seemed like they wanted to be cooperative. These fish don't always just stand out in the open and make themselves obvious. Sometimes you got to hunt for them. And right here, you can see a little bit of movement right there on the corner of that stick in that tree. And when I bring the jig by it, he comes out to get it. So sometimes just use your imagination. I mean, you might catch a big old slab, or what's the worst thing that could happen? You get hung up, just keep going. And every now and then, you do come across one of these gimmies. I do love it when I see one floating out there in the middle of nothing. And this one didn't want to stick around with me. You can't catch them all. Okay, here's something else most of you have probably seen if you run a split shot or a weight over your bait. This fish right here comes off a stick and goes right after my weight. But if you're patient, kind of pull it away from him and drop it back down, a lot of times he'll come back and get it. He'll get the right one. Here's a nice crappie sitting close to the bottom on some structure. Man, I just love it when I see these. That's a good sized crappie from the return I'm getting, and he ends up being a nice keeper. Sometimes you hear me talking. I'm not talking to myself. I actually got my phone up there, and sometimes my buddies out on the lake call me, or I'll call them, and kind of just see how the fish are doing in different areas. Here's another one hanging tight to structure. There's actually a couple of different fish that I can see in that bush, I guess you call it, and I coaxed one of them out. Fighting little fish over here. A lot of times you'll run across this and it's smaller fish, but there's several fish down there on that piece of structure. You can see the bright dots; those are all fish, and one of them actually comes up and get my bait. Man, there's a really good fish sitting on this piece of structure, and you couldn't ask for a better situation. I was close enough to drop straight down on him and hold it right on top of him. Here's another one floating suspended just off the bottom. He's a nice looking fish on a live scope. You can see I dropped straight down on him and he's facing away and he turns and here he comes. Okay, here we have a piece of structure, a lot of structure actually, and there's quite a few fish around and on it. And I'm actually, you can see I'm trying to target a specific fish right there, and my bait kind of disappears behind the limb. I'm looking at a fish, but an entirely different fish in that same bush comes gets my bait. There's a pretty good fish hanging out by an old stump. I can just see him peeking around the edge of it there. You can see him at the bottom. He he's looking here, he's following it up, and boom, he hits it. You hear some talking here. I got a fellow fisherman asking me about some of my settings. Got right on top of this one before I realized I was on him, but I didn't want to spook him, so I just dropped straight down, and he came right after. This one right here was another one of those that looked like it hit my weight. I kind of lost sight of my bait for a minute, and all that happened at once. I noticed the fish came after it. I didn't get him, and then I just kind of let it fall back down on him. He came back and hit it. Here's another one going after my weight. Once again, you can see I pulled it away from him and then let it back down on him, and he saw my jig and hit it. I should do like my old buddy Chad and tie an extra jig instead of a weight. It works. Here's one of them long range fish. He's 26 feet out. I pulled enough line to put that 13-foot rod to work. Even though he wasn't the right species, he was a white bass, uh, I still consider it a win. Not much to say about this one, just another fun classic moment. There's 2 or 3 fish on this standing timber. Look like a totem pole down there. One of them wants to play. I see some down here on some structure, kind of swimming away from me. There's a pretty good fish, and I dropped it on him. I don't think he saw the bait yet, but when he does see it, you can actually see the fish turn up towards the bait right there. And he tried to hit the weight, pulled the weight away from him, and there I got him. He's a pretty good fish. Here's a pretty good crappie tucked right down in the little V of that structure. You can see him glowing down there. My bait's headed right for him. He kind of gives it a wiggle and then he's on. This fish is kind of out floating suspended, but I was pretty impressed at how far he followed it before he hit it. That's always a good sign. Kind of shows that they are biting. This is a good problem to have right here. I got 3 targets to go after, and I'm going to start with this closest one, see if I can't get him in the boat first. And then we'll work on the others. Good call. I love the response from this fish. Uh, Typically, the later in the morning or early afternoon it gets, these things seem to be a little more aggressive, and this one here uh, showed that he was no different. Here's another nice one just sitting suspended right off the bottom. Bring it right in over his head and get his attention, and he can't resist. This one here is probably the closest thing I caught to having one bited on the bottom. He was right at the base of that tree, and you can see him coming out after that bait. There's a whole herd of them right here on this stump. Looks like 3 or 4 down there. I followed this one probably 20, 30 yards. You can see he's moving, and he's getting close to that stump, and he slowed down a little bit where I could catch up to him. Look on the back side of that 3rd tree. You see that bump toward the bottom? That's him. That's the one I'm after. That's the on side of the tree. That little football right there. That's a black. Not sure where my accompanying live scope video is, but this was a pretty good catch. Even though I didn't have him on the scope, he was a nice one. So just put the catch on there. Okay, everybody, here he comes. You can see this fish swimming right by that stop. I pitched out past him. He was on the move. I usually don't catch moving fish, but he turned on my jig, and this was an absolute giant for the day. That's the best fish I caught all day long, and I didn't do a great job of getting him in. I started to go for my net, and you'll see here, I'm not the best. I didn't do the best job of boat flipping him. I kind of changed my mind. I thought, well, I'll just flip him. So lucky to get that one in. He was a dandy, 2 pounds and 4 ounces. It was a fun one. I'm going to try to snipe one more off a tree and call it a day. Man, it's been great. Got a nice limit. Beautiful day on the water. Lord bless us with perfect weather and lots of biting fish. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching my channel. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. You should be able to hit that button on the lower right. That'll update you so you can see where we go next. Thanks again for watching. Till next time.